Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation. If you've ever wanted better people skills to communicate better, work better, and have people on your side, whatever you're trying to do, then do we have the special show for you. Today I'll be talking with Dave Kerpen, entrepreneur, speaker, and New York Times bestselling author. He's the founder and CEO of Likeable Local, a social media company, and the chairman and co-founder of Likeable Media. He is also the author of a fantastic new book, The Art of People, 11 Simple People Skills that will get you everything you want. And that's just what we'll be talking about today. Simple tools and techniques to help you work, play, and communicate better with those around you for your greatest happiness and success. That plus we'll talk about first dates at 21, 29 pairs of orange sneakers and counting, how to eat at French Laundry, who's the president of table clearing, why it's oops, I got your voicemail again, and how to have a free ballpark wedding nationally televised, of course. So welcome to the show, Dave. Are you ready to shine?
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
Woohoo! So before we dive right into things, I've got to ask, how did you end up on the red carpet with American Idols?
So first of all, thank you for having me. And I do so many podcasts where folks barely read my book, if at all. And so just to have an intro like that from someone that obviously read the book means a lot to me, and I can tell that you know what you're doing. Yeah, I was on this reality TV show in 2003, I guess 13 years ago now. And it was a really interesting show called Paradise Hotel. Mm-hmm. It was sexy singles at a luxury resort and me. And that made for some really good television, the disparity between said sexy singles and this nerdy guy. After the show, I guess I enjoyed a little 15 minutes of fame. Which included...
After the show, meaning 31 weeks of not getting cut from the show.
That's right. No, I did last a long time on the show. It was a bit of a summer cult hit on Fox, actually. And it was interesting because, and I used the show a little bit in the beginning of the book as a microcosm for like life, because I showed up and I was very different from all the other people on the show. And so most of the rest of the cast were models and actors, and here I am, this business guy, a Jewish guy, a pretty nerdy guy, really unlike most of the folks for many reasons. And they really didn't like me at first, and I really didn't fit in at first. But, you know, for the sake of the show and kind of lasting as long as I could in the game, it was kind of a contest to see who could last the longest. I guess I put my people skills to work, and throughout it kind of won them over to the point where I did make it all the way to the end. Yeah. And was kind of a winner, although not really, because it came down to the final two couples. You had to pair up with a member of the opposite sex each week, and my partner and I made it all the way to the end with the other with this other couple that we became very close friends with. And then in the very end, they gave the grand prize to my partner and the other male, and they said you can share the $250,000 with your partner, or you can keep it all for yourself. And in the second to last scene in the show, the male who won said to his partner, you know, I never could have done this without you. You know, we did it together. And he cut her a check for $125,000. And then in the final scene of the show, my partner, unfortunately, made the decision to keep all the money for herself. But it made for really good television, and I became a bit of a tragic hero. And I enjoyed my 15 minutes in Los Angeles, including lots of red carpet events, including that event that I opened the book with on the red carpet with my friends from American Idol.
So let's go down. $125,000. Ouch. But the bigger ouch is, if I understand this correctly, you were having your 15 minutes of fame, but you weren't enjoying it.
No, I was miserable. It was really an interesting time because I was famous, but I hadn't done anything, and I wasn't doing anything. So I was getting paid to show up at malls and nightclubs and bars. $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 fees, which for, you know, a kid in their 20s is good money for sure. but it was a really, really empty feeling because I literally wasn't doing anything and wasn't providing any value to the world. And it had me, it just had me really unhappy, like I said, and just empty. And the previous year, I had met a woman that I had worked with at Disney that I had fell madly in love with, and we were very, very good friends and very, very connected. But unfortunately, she was married at the time,
Mm-hmm.
so we could not be together. And she had moved away from Boston to New York to focus on her marriage, and I had done what anyone with unrequited love would do naturally, is go on a reality TV show to find true love.
Of course.
But after the show, I was very sad, despite my fame and the money, and I just really missed that connection with that woman. So I hadn't talked to her in over a year, and I called her up out of the blue from the red carpet at that event, and I think it was the big in either the American Music Awards or the VH1 Awards, and I called her up and I said, "How you doing? It's Dave." And she said, "Oh, wow, I watched you on TV, and now I'm going through a divorce." And I said, "I'm so sorry to hear that."
Fist bump included here.
Exactly. And we ended up, I flew to New York. I told her a little white lie that I had to be in New York to meet with my agent.
Mm-hmm.
And I flew to New York, and we started dating, and the rest is history. And I actually went, talking about sort of feeling unhappy. I became a teacher right after that experience because I wanted very badly to have a tangible impact on the world every
Mm-hmm.
single day. And I thought that I could do that as a teacher, and I did. I was a classroom teacher for three years, and it was a pretty amazing experience, albeit a very different experience from my entrepreneurial journey more recently, and certainly very different from the reality TV. But
Did you actually
rich
teach?
experience.
Did you teach arithmetic with Oreo cookies?
I taught. I taught. Actually, that was for my student teaching years, so that was a good story. I'm glad you remember that. I taught math,
Yep.
6th, 7th, and 8th grade math, and I would say the highlight of my job as a teacher in those 3 years was I had this whole reward system I called Mr. K's Math Money Mania, where every time they did something well, they would get fake Mr. K dollars,
Mm-hmm.
and then they could submit them every Friday for all these different prizes, and it was really awesome. I'm not going to lie to you. And since then, I've gone into social media, and now I've built this big brand in social media, and it's pretty cool because some of my students have stayed in touch with me, and they'll let me know how they're doing from time to time, and they'll post, "Hey, I just found an old Mr. K Math Money Mania dollar. Can I cash it in or what?" But it was an amazing experience. Yeah, I told the story early in the book, as you mentioned, about when I student taught first grade and teaching a lesson with food, and I love teaching, and I consider. It's funny. Two of my biggest passions
Mm-hmm.
are teaching and sales, and I find that so much of leadership and management and getting what you want, influence, the stuff that I wrote about in The Art of People is a kind of a combination of teaching and sales. And if you can, those are two of the bigger skills. If you can get those skills down and you can sell your ideas and you can teach people things that you want them to learn, those are huge, huge values.
This might be a tangent, or it might be directly in line. A lot of what you talk about in your book, and we'll dive in with some specific examples and chapters, has to do with being a great salesperson, really has to do with being a great listener. Can the same be said about being a great teacher, that you have to be a great listener?
Yes. I think listening is the single most important skill in getting what you want, the single most important skill that I wrote about. The single most underrated skill out there. Most people think they're good listeners because they know what listening is, but just because you know what listening is doesn't mean you're a good listener. And, I think the best listeners are those, like in anything, the best listeners are those that know that they can improve and work actively to try to improve. And so, yeah, when you're selling, listening is super, super important, and understanding exactly what the client's problems are, what their needs are, etc. Um, but I think you can say the same thing about teaching, understanding what your students' problems, needs, and wants are. And remember, I like to use both teaching and selling pretty loosely. So the truth is, anytime I'm having a conversation with someone, I'm probably selling them or teaching them something to one extent or another. So it's a matter of, really, really paying attention to them and listening for understanding versus listening with that kind of secret goal in mind.
That makes sense. So let's go from there. When we're talking about, I was reading this book, and I'm always trying to hone and improve my skills. And so I was reading with this book going, what can I learn? And I have a lot to learn, as we all do. But I was fascinated by this section early on where you say, Myers-Briggs means nothing. This means everything. And I went and took this quiz at the back, and then I went online and took your quiz as well. What can you tell us about this?
Well, first, I need to know your Enneagram type, Michael.
I'm a 7.
Nice. Exciting.
Woohoo!
All right. No wonder you started off so high energy. Awesome. Well, I'm going to keep this interview as exciting as possible for you.
Thank you. And for our audience.
And for the audience.
So for those listening, there are different types, and I'm the type of person who likes things exciting.
Yeah, no, and I promise I will reveal that for the audience. But now I have to think hard, Michael. I have to make this interview because I do a lot of interviews. How can this be truly, truly different and exciting? What can I reveal that will just blow your mind? I'm going to work on it, and obviously I'll be led by your fabulous questions. So yeah, I'll tell you the story. I was in South Miami Beach for a retreat with a bunch of entrepreneurs. And normally I love these retreats. They're an awesome time to get away and refresh. And it's funny because, during the pre-interview, you talked about meditation and how, you do have some guests and certainly a lot of listeners that are into meditation and spirituality. For me, that's been an area of my life that I've really struggled with. I can't relax. I don't relax. I don't like to relax. I like to move. So the beginning of this retreat at Canyon Ranch in South Beach was all about relaxation, meditation, yoga, Pilates. I mean, it was all kinds of activities that I wasn't used to. So I was kind of freaking out when I sat down for a 4-hour session on this personality thing that I had never heard of called the Enneagram. And over the next 4 hours, I just fell absolutely madly in love with this thing. And I wouldn't call myself an Enneagram expert per se, but I have now, read a few books on it and interviewed a bunch of people about it. And I have really come, based on my research, to the belief that it is more reliable than the Myers-Briggs and the DISC assessment and a lot of other assessments that companies spend a lot of money on. Enneagram is in the public domain, so it hasn't had the same level of corporate financial support through the years, and therefore it's not nearly as famous. Although in certain circles, including a lot of Christian circles, it has actually grown in popularity tremendously. All that said, the Enneagram is all about understanding your basic motivations, desires, what really drives you as an individual. And it's divided into 9 types. And if you really want to get more sophisticated, 3 different instincts, although I kept the book to the 9 types. And I make a strong case in the beginning of the book for either the Enneagram or some other personality assessment that you feel really strongly about, but to work on yourself and self-assessment and self-understanding. I think so often people jump into, okay, how can I figure out other people? How can I get what I want? How can I get this without really looking inward first?
Thank you.
It's really important and valuable to do that work and look inward. And for me, I have done Enneagram now I mean, obviously myself, my 8 entrepreneur friends in that group, and then probably about 100 staff people across our 2 companies. You know, we've administered it to everyone that works for us, and it is incredibly valuable in better understanding yourself and others. And there's a free, I mean, it's in the book, so you, of course, you can get it if you buy the book, but there are free versions available online and in apps as well. And I would strongly suggest people check it out. It's really a valuable tool.
So me being a driven toward excitement, how does that shape everything? How do you use that information and take it that one step more? And I love what you're saying, because we've even had an astronaut on the show, and we have a lot of people do amazing things, but it seems at the end of the day, we need to take an inner journey first and understand ourselves to understand our outer world. So I love what you're saying.
Yeah. So for let me I'll share for your use case and then my use case. For a 7, you know, you love new people, new ideas, new things in general. Where a lot of 7s struggle is in the details, the monotony of things, the follow up and the follow through with things, the sometimes abandoning new projects and not completing them. And so if you know where you are most apt to struggle, you can essentially hire people to help you move along. I'm coaching a 7 right now. He's an entrepreneur friend who wants to write a book. Now, writing a book is a tremendous undertaking. It's very exciting to think of it, but the actual writing each page is a very time-consuming, long, even potentially kind of boring process, honestly. So for a 7, he came outside to me to get help in finishing something like that. I'm a 3, so I love achieving, being outstanding, being in front of a crowd. I love doing interviews like this. So one thing that I've done is, you know,
and 3 was my second.
Nice, yeah. I'm not shocked. So one thing I've struggled with is called the I'll do it syndrome, where basically anyone asks me to do anything, I'm in, and I've had to consciously work on saying no to things and rewrite the story in my head, basically saying, okay, instead of saying yes to everything, let's be more strategic about what I say yes to, so that I can be even better at those things. And the more I say no to the wrong things, the more I can say yes to the right things, like this interview right here, and really thrive on the right things. And so each personality type is driven by, you know, that sort of big idea. So for 7s, it's excitement. For 3s, it's achievement. For 1s, it's perfection. For 2s, it's connection. For 4s, it's uniqueness. For 5s, it's detachment. For 6s, security. For 8s, is power. Donald Trump, the biggest 8 I've ever seen, for instance. And for 9, it's peace. And as you think about what your Enneagram type is, it can help you understand, 1, you know, kind of validate what you're all about, but 2, what kind of pitfalls you can look out for and how to manage around those pitfalls.
And it also sounds like, and this is a story you share early, you have a story of Mean and Grumpy John. If you understand where somebody is coming from, maybe you can tell us about John.
Yeah. I don't know what John's Enneagram type, and I will say the tricky thing about Enneagram is, you know, it's hard to diagnose somebody else without them taking the test, right? So I would use that caution, but I will say, obviously, you can take it for yourself, for your spouse, have your spouse take it, have your staff take it, et cetera, et cetera. So John was a partner, business partner of ours, and we just never hit it off. We really struggled. I really didn't like him. I'm sure he didn't like me either. And but I had to work with him. And so I was really struggling with what to do. How could I work with somebody that I really didn't like? And my wife said, and my wife, as you know, Michael, from reading the book, is really in many ways my muse. I mean, she's definitely the person that's taught me more about people skills than anyone.
If I can pause you right there, you worked at Radio Disney, if I've got this right together, and you were the #1 salesperson until she came along.
It's true. I was #1. I was the top person in the country. She came along, dropped me to #2 within just 3 months, and I knew if you can't beat them, join them. I knew I would have to marry her and go into business with her one day. And both of those did come true, but it did take some time, and it took, I told that story earlier, but it wasn't meant to be at first, but it was meant to be over time. And yeah, we're really an amazing duo. I give her so much credit for everything, and she's been it's been an unbelievable to have her in my life as my partner in all things. I talk to so many entrepreneurs that are just starting out, and they ask me, for advice. And so often I find myself sharing how valuable it is to have a partner that you so implicitly trust. And whether it's your husband or wife or brother or sister or, lifelong friend, partnership with somebody at that level is a very, very powerful thing. But I digress. So I went to Carrie. I said, what am I going to do about this guy? I just don't like him. I mean, how am I going to work with him? She said, Dave, take him out for coffee. I said, take him out for coffee? I can't stand the guy. Why would I want to spend extra time with him? She said, Dave, take him out for coffee and see what happens. So I said, all right, I'll give this a try. So I emailed him, said, hey, would love to, I'm going to be near your office, would love to grab some coffee. And I made the effort. We did grab some coffee, and lo and behold, I started finding some commonalities with him. And the thing is, even people that we don't think we understand or like, if you work at it a little bit, you can get to the place where you do understand them better, and you certainly even like them a little bit better. And that happened with John. Look, we're not going to, run off to Paris together, and, we're not going to be BFFs. But we got to the point where, at least for me, I felt much more comfortable working with him, and that was the important thing. And so my advice when you're really struggling with someone is to spend some time in a kind of neutral, out of the office type atmosphere where usually food or drinks are involved, and that can go a long way towards finding commonalities and building relationships with people.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing on that. Going dovetailing on there with BFFs, can you tell us about Larry Bennett and 3 questions?
Sure. So Benet, but no words.
I wondered about that. I'm like, it's one N. Am I going to go for it?
That's okay. You took the risk, and that's all right. So I was at this conference. I was the closing keynote speaker, and he was the opening keynote speaker. And I was sitting in the front row, and he came out. And I to be honest, I'd never heard of the guy, but he came out, and he was awesome. And he was talking about networking and how to network the right way. And a lot of people really struggle with networking. A lot of people think networking is like, they just find it very distasteful and challenging and difficult. And he said networking is this amazing opportunity to get to know people at such a deep level if you start by asking the right questions. And he said, we're gonna put it to the test right now. And he said, okay, everyone's gonna turn to the person to your left, and I'm gonna give you like 2 minutes, and you're each gonna ask the following questions. And he had us ask a couple of questions like, what are you most excited about right now? And what charity are you most passionate about? And I think if you had more money, if you had enough money to retire right now, what would you do? And so I asked these questions with the guy sitting next to me. His name was Steve, and in 3 minutes, I knew Steve better than I knew like a lot of my closest friends and family members. It was insane, and he knew me so well. And the point of that exercise was, if we can kind of cut through the BS of like, how's the weather, and go sports team of choice, and get to like what makes people tick in an exciting way. Notice, by the way, I didn't say like, what are you most scared of? What are your deepest, darkest fears? Like, yeah, that's going to be a little too intense to bring up with someone. Yeah, exactly, when you first meet them. But when you can tap into, on the opposite end of the spectrum, like your biggest hopes and dreams, and charities that you care about, and projects that you're excited about, and kids, or like what what family member have you had the most impact on? What family members had the most impact on you? Like things that will really get people excited, but also deep.
Mm-hmm.
That's extremely, extremely powerful. Now, when I've talked to people and coached people through this story and this concept, a lot of people still are uncomfortable about it. And so what I say in the book and what I'll say here as well is, look, if you're still uncomfortable about taking this strategy when you're networking, then just blame me. Say, hey, I saw this. I was listening to this podcast. I saw this video, and this guy had written a book about people skills, and he had this idea to ask these crazy questions. So if you don't mind, I actually have a couple questions for you, and then use me as an excuse, and then ask your questions. You will be amazed at how the walls come down and how you can really build a relationship with someone quickly with just a few of the right questions.
And then I would dovetail onto that, a few of the right questions, and then go quiet and listen.
And then shut up and listen. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So many people have this, have an agenda when they're networking to like sell stuff. But if you switch and you make your agenda to learn about people and really understand people, you'll do much, much better. I drill home this point, maybe even too much in the book, I admit it, but I just think it is so, so important that we all lose sight of it because we all have things on our mind. But the thing is, because we all have things on our mind, the other person that you're talking to has things on their mind, things that they care about. And chances are not a lot of people are really, truly listening to that person in their life. People that they work with, even people at home. And if you can be the one that listens and that is there for them, you could even be a complete stranger or a salesperson or, whatever your relationship to them was prior to you listening. Mm-hmm. When you show somebody that you really, truly care about them, and you do, and you listen genuinely and authentically, it's a game changer because probably not a lot of people really care that much.
Perfect example of this. I'm thinking of Jackie at the end of an event who you spoke with, because this was an instant boomerang. Usually it's you meet somebody, you listen, you hear from them, and then maybe something takes place a year or two later. This was instantaneous. Maybe you can tell us about this.
Yeah, it was instantaneous, and I agree with you. You have to be caught. You have to be careful because it's not always so, you can't expect.
Right.
The thing is, it's all about doing it for the sake of doing it, not because you expect something in return. But that being said, it can happen. Yeah, so I was at this event, this magazine launch event, and I really only went downstairs. There was like I think it was a VIP room, a sponsor room, and I went downstairs only to charge my phone. So I'm sitting there thinking I'll charge my phone for like at least 15, 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. We all know the phone charging problems that we all have. And so then I start talking to this girl. She's a little inebriated for sure. And that probably made it even easier to get her talking. But I just, started asking her questions, and she like completely opened up to me really, really quickly and shared a lot of her personal life. And she was looking for a man and all these various things that I just didn't expect to get so quickly. But I was like, okay, cool. Like, let me just get to know this human being. And, I was already very happily married at the time, but still, I just liked meeting people and understanding people and et cetera. So, yeah, we talked, but by we talked, I really mean she talked pretty much the entire, nonstop for a while. And then I was like basically excusing myself, saying it's so great to meet you. And my phone is charged, so I'm going to head back up to the party. And I think only at that point did she realize, wow, oh my God, I haven't asked you a single thing about you. And oh my God. And she basically was like, so tell me a little bit about yourself. And I was like, I'm Dave. I'm married to an awesome woman, and a few kids, a couple kids. I had 2 kids at the time, and I'm actually really excited. I'm going to San Francisco in like 2 weeks, and I'm planning a little anniversary celebration with my wife, and going to have to book some really great restaurants. And she was like, oh, I actually, maybe you've heard of French Laundry, and like, I know the owner there. And I was like, oh my God, I tried to book that. I couldn't get in. It was like, huge wait list. And she was like, oh, I can probably send in, no promises, but I can probably try to get you in. And lo and behold, this woman that was a complete stranger 20 minutes ago, and that I hadn't done anything for whatsoever, but listened to, was able to really hook me up with something that was very, very valuable.
You listened.
I shut up and listened.
So going from there, let's talk about Dave McClure and bright orange sneakers.
Cool. This is gonna be tricky on video, but I'm gonna try at the end of this story, only because you're a 7. I'm gonna try to do something that you probably have never had done on a video before and reveal my shoes. So I'm on my second company now as an entrepreneur. It's a company called Likeable Local. My first company, we did not raise money for. We bootstrapped it as a lifestyle company. But this latest venture, we're kind of like thinking bigger. We want to work with millions of small businesses, and so we have to raise funds to do that. But like, as anyone out there that has raised money before knows, it's really, really hard. And you have to get mutual introductions to people. And even then, you pitch 100 people to get one person to write you a check. So I got an introduction from a mutual friend to this guy, Dave McClure. He's a Silicon Valley investor. He's the founder of a fund called 500 Startups. And they've invested in over 500 startups, but they are seed investors out of Silicon Valley, but they have offices now all over the world. So I sent this email. I got this this email introduction, and then I sent an email to Dave, only to get an auto reply. I'm not even kidding you. The auto reply from Dave said, "I'm sorry, but I don't check my emails.
Wow.
If you know me, text me. And if you don't know me, there is maybe a 20% chance that I may read this, but probably not, and I probably won't respond." So that was kind of disheartening, to say the least. But I saw that he was speaking at an event in New York. So I was like, okay, awesome. I'll just go to this event, and I'll meet him there, and he'll remember the mutual friend that we have, and that'll at least be the start of the conversation. So I buy a ticket to this investment conference, and I show up, and I was like, I'm so dumb, because there were like 600 people there. Just about all of them. They were basically like 595 entrepreneurs and 5 investors. And the entrepreneurs were just circling around these investors all day long. Dave had a line maybe 20, 30 deep every chance that he wasn't, doing something. And I didn't even have a shot. So I was really bummed out. It was the end of the day. It was 5:30. I was waiting online for a drink at the little open bar. I was like, at least let me get a drink out of this complete waste of a day. And all of a sudden I hear, I need to meet the man that's wearing those mother effing shoes. He didn't say F. He actually said it. And I look up, and there's Dave McClure. And he had sought me out because of my shoes. And I was like, this is insane. And we had a conversation, and he did recognize our mutual friend, Victoria, and he introduced me to one of his associates who ran their New York office. And within 3 weeks, they had invested $250,000 in our company. And, it was pretty freaking amazing. And I can't say that if you wear orange shoes, you're going to attract $250,000. But I can say that for me, wearing orange shoes every single day has become a really, really important part of my personal brand. It does attract people pretty much every single day. People walk up to me on the street or in the train, and certainly at any conferences that I speak at or attend. And it's a conversation point. It's something that gets noticed, and it's something that has actually become a big part of my personal brand. And so what I recommend to people in the book is, again, you don't have to wear orange shoes, but think about what your orange shoes is. Maybe it's a necklace, certain color bag, certain color glasses. There you go. A tie, certain shoes, a pocketbook, a watch, a hat, a scarf. What is that item that can be your signature item, signature color, that can not only help you build a brand over time, but help you stand out in a good way during those opportunities for Dave McClure or whoever it is in your life that you want to attract.
So as of the book, this was pair number 21, and you've had 29. I know you've had to go beyond that now. Very nice.
That's today's.
Bright
I'm at
orange.
36.
36.
Yeah, actually, I should have rewritten because remember when the book was written, it takes maybe a whole year to actually get out.
Yeah.
I'm at 36. My wife bought me, God bless her. My daughter was just bat mitzvahed, and my wife bought me these beautiful Ferragamo orange dress shoes for the bat mitzvah. Those were my 36th. And I'm not really a brands guy. I don't really know like these high fashion brands or anything, but apparently this was a step up from my Pradas, which was my previous perfect orange shoe. But usually I just wear orange sneakers, which are much easier, of course, to come by.
So did you dance in the step up from the Pradas then?
I did. I danced in the Ferragamos. Oh yeah.
So
they were a huge hit. Women apparently really, digs a lot of the shoe brands. Who knew?
Who knew? So from there, let's go into a few of the things. I'm going to go on a few of the things that I really geeked out and found fascinated in the book. So one, the power of LinkedIn and meeting Sally Krawcheck.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm a huge fan of LinkedIn. Obviously now they're Microsoft, so we'll see how that sale goes. But to me, LinkedIn is this amazing opportunity to take the concept of the Rolodex and the ask for referrals and extend it and scale it to the hundreds, thousands, or millions of people. I mean, I am connected through. I have a lot of connections, but through my connections, I am connected. Second-degree connections to over 1 million people. That's pretty crazy. And it's just about anyone in the professional world that I want to meet, I can meet. And so Sally was one example. I don't remember how it came up. I think I was talking with, I don't know, my wife or somebody, and, she came up in conversation, and somebody was like, hey, you should reach out to Sally Krawcheck. And I was like, well, I don't know her, but let me look for mutual connections, and found a couple of mutual connections on LinkedIn, made the ask, and a week later she was in my office. And Sally Krawcheck, for those of you that don't know, is like basically the top woman in finance, like in the world. She was former president of Merrill Lynch and Bank for America, and she's an extremely brilliant, very, very well-connected woman. And so she was in my office having coffee, and now I can call her a friend. And I think that a lot of us are intimidated by certain people, and intimidated by celebrity, and intimidated by success, intimidated by wealth. But the truth is, you can connect with almost anyone on the planet. And as long as you can figure out how to add value for people, then they're going to want to meet with you, right? So I happen to have written about a lot and know social media really well. So I can reach out to almost anyone and say, hey, I'd like to help you with your social media if you're cool with that. And they're like, okay, great. When I talk to college students and talk to them about the same subject, I say, I'll bet you anything. You could call up a Fortune or connect on LinkedIn to any Fortune 500 CEO and say, if you can spare 15 minutes, I would love to walk you through exactly how to use Snapchat and why Snapchat is such a powerful.
Sign me up.
Right? Because if you look at the growth curve of Snapchat right now,
it's ahead of Facebook.
What's
right
going
now.
on? It is completely insane. And yet, just about every Fortune 500 CEO on the planet and their peers has absolutely no idea. They're just getting to Facebook. So the truth is, even if you're a college kid or heck, a high school kid, and you think, well, what could I possibly offer of value to a Fortune 500 CEO or celebrity or whomever? The truth is, you probably can offer something. You just have to think about it, and then use LinkedIn and whatever other social networks you have to find the mutual connections to get to that person. And if you're persistent and can get to the person, Offer them value. You can build a huge, huge relationship, and who knows how that will serve you. I have no idea if or how Sally Krawcheck and all the other relationships of people that I've met will serve me, but I tell you, I'm really confident, Michael, that collectively they will serve me well throughout my career.
So I think we each have homework after this to hop onto LinkedIn and start filling out the who we knows.
And I'll tell you what, anyone that wants to connect with me and just shoot me a note saying that you saw this or heard this interview, I'm thrilled to connect, and hopefully I can be helpful to you as well.
Fantastic, and I'll take you up on that one as well. So with that said, one of the most salient points you just made right there is you learn, maybe that is what the art of people is. I mean, it's many things, but is the art of learning how you can help the other. And I'm thinking about your wedding now, because you flipped weddings on its head, and you did it by saying, well, we can't do this ourselves. How can we help somebody else to do this for us?
Yeah, it's a good way to think about it, because it's funny because we got married now 10 years ago. I'm about to celebrate my 10-year anniversary. And to this day, because of all the press and all the fact that the internet doesn't forget, I still get emails every month or two from brides, once in a while grooms, but almost always brides, who say to me, how can we have a sponsored wedding? I want a sponsored wedding. And the problem with their thinking is they're thinking about themselves. Mm-hmm. They're not thinking about how they can provide value for others. So the core thesis of our sponsored wedding was, how can we put together an event that will provide value for all of our sponsors? And we partnered with a minor league baseball team. And that was the first pitch, right? We pitched the Brooklyn Cyclones. We said, look, if you give us the rights to sell all of your sponsorship inventory from a game and to take over a game, we will bring you enormous national media and a sellout crowd. They said, we could deal with enormous national media and a sellout crowd. They said, yes, of course. So then we had our venue. Then we said to all of our wedding vendors, look, if you give us X amount of flowers or food or alcohol or wedding dresses, et cetera, we will get you exposure in front of 8,000 people. Mm-hmm. And we can't really promise this, but we have a very strong feeling that you also will be exposed to some national media. And lots of them signed up, right? We ended up having 1-800-Flowers.com do our flowers, and Smirnoff did our alcohol, and Entenmann's did our desserts. David's Bridal did our bridesmaids' gowns. The list goes on and on. Bright Smile did our teeth. So, and we got tons and tons of media for them, and they really had a huge value. To date, 10 years later, this is the best PR promotion that 1-800-Flowers.com has ever done. You know, for the cost of $5,000 worth of flowers, they had like 68 different TV stations covering them because they, syndicated media and whatnot, and thousands of mentions online. So it's, in many cases, that is in fact the point. It's not about you. It's about the others and how you can help them and what you can do for them. And if you can do that, then you can create an amazing win-win scenario. We had the absolute wedding of our dreams. I mean, certainly for me as a baseball fan, the wedding of my dreams. And it wasn't because we were sort of out to trick people. It was because we were really committed to creating something where everybody would really win.
Woohoo! I love it. So a few more questions, then we'll jump into a brief wrap-up. First off, when we talk about helping someone, this is really helping someone to help themselves in a sense. Who's the president of table clearing?
So Charlotte, our daughter that was just bat mitzvahed, is the president of table clearing. I don't think I mentioned this in the book, but Kate is the president of table setting. So we've got our two daughters cover the important basics at home, and that really comes from a discussion about leadership in the book, and I tried really hard to make it's a business book per se, but I tried really hard to have as many examples outside the boardroom as possible, because ultimately, getting what we live half of our lives at work and in our whatever we do in our jobs, but the other half at home. And just like we want to get,
I'd argue it's a people skills book. This isn't just about business. Yeah. Everybody needs to know this.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And right, just as we want to get our boss to give us that promotion, or our colleague to help us with that project, often we want to get our kids to set the table and clear the table. And we want to get, I think I tell the story about how my wife got me to take out the garbage, so like there's a lot of stuff in here about getting what you want at home as well. And I believe that everyone at some level wants to be a leader. Mm-hmm. And by tapping into that and giving people opportunities to be leaders. Maybe you don't have to be the CEO of a company to be a leader. You can be a 12-year-old kid and be a leader in a certain task. Mm-hmm. Okay. And she is the leader in the family when it comes to clearing the table. And she's in charge, right? So it's funny because occasionally she won't want to clear the table, so she might cut a deal with her sister. Her sister can clear the table in exchange for letting her play with her or sleep with her giant pillow that she won at Dave & Buster's. So I'm all for that. That's still getting the job done, right? So as long as you can get the job done, great. And by empowering people as leaders, whether it's people at work or your kids even, I think that you can get more out of people.
Beautiful. On that note, it kind of jumps ahead. We always ask just before the end from my wife, Jessica, is what words of wisdom would you have then for parents with their kids?
Yeah. So similar to what I talked about already, listen, like really listen, like put this thing away.
Phone. He's waving a phone.
This phone says to people, "I'm not listening to you," and I think I see it all the time. I've been guilty of it in the past, but I definitely see it all the time with other kids and their parents. And you can pretend you're listening and you can try to listen, but if you've got that phone out, you're not listening with 100%. Of yourself. You're just not. And so that's my number one tip is put that phone away and give them your undivided attention. And that really makes a huge difference. And then positivity. I'm all about positive rewards and praise, both at work and at home. And I'm not about criticism and punishment. It doesn't work. There's study after study shows that punishment doesn't work. So why would we use it? Instead, reward. Could be all about the rewards. My middle daughter struggled when my son was born recently. Mm-hmm. For the first time in 9 years, she wasn't the baby of the family, and she didn't have everyone's attention. And she acted out a lot, and we did a star chart, right? To get 100 stars, you get a prize, and it worked very, very well to keep her focused on positive behaviors and rewards around those behaviors.
Beautiful. Woohoo! From there, a brief. I love it. A brief positive story on, oops, I got your voicemail again.
Yeah, sure. So I love telling the Brenda Fuentes story. I tell it to all of our incoming salespeople because to me it's about persistence and also passion and creativity, right? So it was when I was at Radio Disney selling. It was just before Carrie was hired, of course, when I was still number one, mm-hmm. And I was given the Burger King account, and this was back like before the internet, so you couldn't like tweet people or LinkedIn or even email people. You had to use the old-fashioned telephone. That was it. That was your only option. And so I was given the Burger King account to try to land, and the contact name was Brenda Fuentes, and I called her every single day, and she never picked up the phone. And I didn't want to get too crazy with leaving like voicemails every day. So what I would do is I would call her every day, and then once a week I would leave her a voicemail. But I'm sure she got lots of voicemails and pitches, and voicemails can be really annoying, right? So I said, at least if I'm going to be annoying, let me be creative and have some fun with this. And so what I would do is I would take hit songs from Radio Disney that were playing, and I would turn them into voicemails. So to your point that you've so beautifully already sung, Michael, I might sing, "Oops, I called you again, but you aren't here. Can't pick up the phone. Oh, baby, baby, please pick up the phone the next time I call." Or "You're not here now, and that ain't no lie. So bye, bye, bye." The classic NSYNC song. So called every day, left voicemails once a week. It was 7 singing voicemails and 37 phone calls in. Mm-hmm. On the 37th phone call, Brenda Fuentes picked up the phone and she said, "Are you ever going to stop calling and singing into my phone?" And I said, "I am now that you answered. Thank you very much, Brenda Fuentes. It's so great to meet you." And we had a conversation, and I opened up the account. I think it was a $50,000 sale, and that I made a nice paycheck on, probably made 10 grand off of it. And back, 10, 12 years ago, that was actually really worth even more. So It was a really good lesson for me that I continue to tell and teach around persistence and creativity. And really, it's okay to be afraid, but it's important to act in the face of that fear, right? That's what courage is. Courage is being afraid and just going for it anyway. And I'm all about that.
I love it. And a mighty woohoo! From there, a question we like to ask just before the end is, what personally brings you the greatest happiness, or what I call the woohoo factor?
Yeah, that's great. Great question. And I'm working a lot on that, on happiness, because happiness is a big concept. And maybe my next book, I'll go in that direction. Like I'll really go happiness, spirituality, and like a new direction for myself. Because as a 3, in the Enneagram, I strive for achievement. But achievement and success is not necessarily happiness. So I've definitely struggled with happiness. For me, happiness is the joy of my children and the joy of their moments and moments with them. This bat mitzvah that I just had, my daughter. I didn't tell this part of the story, but it's a good way to close. My wife. Yeah. Carrie, she was married, of course, when I first met her, and they ended up having a child before she got divorced. So Charlotte, I met when she was 9 months old. When I came back from that reality show and flew back to New York, I fell in love with Carrie a second time, but I got to fall in love with Charlotte for the first time. And when I married Carrie, we also did a little ceremony on the field, and I kind of became Charlotte's father, and she, accepted me as her dad. And so 10 years later, to see her become a bat mitzvah and go through that really important milestone, and know that I was an important part of that, I would say that for me is pure happiness and joy.
That is a big woohoo! Woohoo! There you go. So with that said, where can people go to find out more and to find your book?
So The Art of People, 11 Simple People Skills that will get you everything you want. By the way, maybe just a little bit of hyperbole in the subtitle. I can't promise you necessarily everything you want, but the idea is it will help you get what you want. And it's available in bookstores everywhere and Amazon. And one of my personal core values is responsiveness. So even though I get thousands of tweets, emails, LinkedIn messages per week, I try really hard to respond to every single one. So if anyone has questions, comments, concerns, you can find me online really easily. My name, Dave Kerpen, on Twitter and LinkedIn and Facebook and Snapchat and Pinterest and Instagram and Google Plus. And since social media is my thing, the list goes on. And I also have a money-back guarantee on Art of People, Michael. If people buy it and they're not 100% happy with it, satisfied with it, etc., shoot me a note and I will gladly send you a check for the cost of the book. You don't even have to send the book back my way. And so far, so good on that guarantee. So, but I'm happy to put it out there for people.
Excellent. And if you didn't catch that, if you didn't catch Dave Kerpen's name, go to inspirenationshow.com and we'll have the links to get you right over to him. We may have to have you back to talk social media at some point here.
I'm happy anytime to talk social media, to talk, this, you really, I really appreciate how much you listened and paid attention to the book, and in the interview. And, it's really always a pleasure doing an interview with somebody that is so, thoughtful. So I really, really do appreciate that.
Thanks so much. Any last words of wisdom you want to share with people?
This is where I'm supposed to say something really, really profound.
It has to be really pithy, or it's just, we're going to just throw it out.
One item that we didn't touch on that I do talk about a lot in the book that I'll close with is the power of gratitude. And I find that gratitude is not only very powerful in moving other people, but it's very powerful in moving yourself. And when I'm stuck in a bad mood, I use gratitude to put myself in a good mood. I literally go from down in the dumps to satisfied, from satisfied to happy, from happy to ecstatic. I think it's the number one drug of all time, and it's completely free and no side effects. So I am all about the gratitude. So thank you.
Thank you. So thank you so much. On that note, it sounds kind of cheesy to say thank you, but you can't say thank you too much. So thank you so much for being on the show, Dave. This has been a true honor and a joy, and I recommend everybody to check out this book. It is a lot of fun, and we didn't even go into it. We didn't even scratch the surface. Story after story after story. So with that said, for everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler saying, be well, have fun, check out The Art of People, and crank up that gratitude too, and shine bright. Woohoo! Woo! Awesome. Thank you, Dave. This was a blast.
It really was. I really meant it.
Everyone, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like below. Also, leave your comments. Have some real fun with it. Subscribe to our channel where you're going to get more great videos, more interviews coming up. And check out our website, inspirenationshow.com. That's where you'll find tips, blogs, information, videos you won't find anywhere else, and useful and helpful resources to really help you kickstart your life and to shine bright. Thanks so much again. Thank you for your support. Like, comment, subscribe. See the website. Thanks so much and have fun. Of course, shine bright. Woohoo!